Hey, welcome to day 160. We're in 1 Kings 13 through 15 and 2 Chronicles 11 through 15. Something a little bit different today. Still mentioning a few of the same things, but we're going from Kings to Chronicles, and it kind of shows the order of events, and that's kind of what we want to get into. This is the historical part of the Bible when we talk about First and Second Chronicles, and I started a new paper here. I know you can't see this, but I've always, as I've done these studies, I've always said, okay, which king is this, and why is there, what king is this, and why are there two kings, and who's in charge, where are they in charge? This is Judah, Benjamin, is it Judah and Benjamin? Is it, wait a minute, what happened to the brother? You know, and a few days ago we read about the split, and 10 of the tribes went in together, and Judah and Benjamin went together, and we just call that Judah for the most part. It does mention Judah and Benjamin a couple different times throughout as we're reading. So what I did is I split this because it can get confusing, and what you should do is, you should do it too. It's really simple. It doesn't take much, but it will help keep things in order for you as you're reading through this stuff, because it goes back and forth a lot. So it started with King Saul, then David, then Solomon, and that's the split. You have Jeroboam and Rehoboam. This side I have Judah on, and this side I have Israel on. Israel is the other 10 tribes of Israel, okay? And I kind of go spaced out with where they are. So there's a big gap here because it goes from Jeroboam, and there was 2 kings of Judah during the time of Jeroboam. And then Asa reigned, about 41 years. So that's going to be a long gap, and there's going to be a bunch of kings over here for Israel. So it's important to know where we're talking about, who we're talking about, who was evil in the Lord's sight, who wasn't, who did the right things. So right now, on this side, Israel's doing what's evil in the Lord's sight. Not that these guys didn't do bad things, but they keep coming back to the Lord in Judah's area. So, and you'll see this go back and forth, but this is a great thing to have as you're reading through the historical part of it. And that's part of what I wanted to talk about today. The other part are 2 different things in our list. The books, we have the book of the history of the kings, and then it's also labeled as the book of the history of the kings of Israel. Of Israel was added to that. 1 Kings 14:19, 1 Kings 15:31, 1 Kings 14:29, and 1 Kings 15:7. A whole bunch of those were listed as the book of the history of the kings. Then 2 other books, a new one that I have not had written on here, the record of Shemaiah the prophet. I don't have that written up here anywhere. That was in 2 Chronicles 12:15. And then earlier, weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, we have the visions of Iddo the seer. Maybe that was a few days ago. 2 Chronicles 9:29, 2 Chronicles 12:15, which is also part of our reading today, the 2 Chronicles 12:15. I added that to it. But then it's not mentioned just as the visions of Iddo the seer. It's mentioned in 2 Chronicles 13:22 as the commentary of Iddo the prophet. So I think those 2 are the same thing, but I just wrote them down separately. So that is, so far, the list of my books that keep popping up in the Bible. This is the first time I made these lists, and I didn't know there were that many books listed in the Bible. I thought maybe there was 4 or 5, but I've gotten up to probably about 10 now, maybe a little bit more. Just something that I'm doing this time around. And then we have the number 7 that's mentioned in 2 Chronicles 13:9. 2 Chronicles 13:9. 13:9. But you have chased away the priests of the Lord, the descendants of Aaron and the Levites. So this is, I think, this would be Rehoboam talking to Jeroboam. It could be Abijah. I can't remember what it was up here. No, it's Abijah talking to Jeroboam. But you have chased away the priests of the Lord and the Levites, and you have appointed your own priest, just like pagan nations did. The priests of the Lord have to be Levitical. That's what God said. They can't be just anybody. It can't be you or I or anybody else. But Jeroboam screwed that up, and he was like, I'm doing whatever I want. And so it begins this nasty circular thing of doing evil in the Lord's sight. And then it says, you let anyone become a priest these days. Whoever comes to be dedicated with a young bull and 7 rams can become a priest of these so-called gods of yours. Gods of yours. So there's the 7 listed again as part of the dedication of Levitical priests. But it's also mentioned here. Why would Jeroboam do that? I don't know. And again, it's important to know, are we talking about Jeroboam? Are we talking about Rehoboam? I have to have that list out in front of me to make sure I know which one's which as I'm going through it. And I put on there, did evil in the Lord's sight, began reigning here. His reign lasted this long. So those 2 or 3 things I put down next to their names. That is your day 160. I hope you do this. It'll help you out as we keep reading, and as we get to the point where the Israelites are exiled, and then exiled again, and then exiled, and then, wait a minute, how many times are they exiled? Oh, wait a minute, they're all exiled. Wait a minute, and there's a remnant. So I'm saying that because it's confusing, and if you have a historical point to this, and we get into the prophets, and you get into Jeremiah, you finally get to see how things work out as time progresses. And it does help you understand this and understand what's coming. It all has something to do with the end, but you have to get this foundation before we get to that. So that's your day 160. I'll see you tomorrow.